There's in improvisation literature, a bit of people talk about curating as composing. So you choose people that have a sound, an identity, a personality, and you put them together in a room. And if you give them space, something will happen. Improvisation is the ability to have two things in your head at the same time. Your projection of intention, so your imagination is going wild and you think about an idea, you always and think laterally. So you can tap in your reserve of creativity to get the next idea. But then you need to be in the moment, that given moment, which if you share with other improvisers will also have been tapped in their pool of creativity. So when you do that while the music is running, you've got to be using your ears to balance, you've got to think of what their target is, so it's really like very interesting in terms of dynamic, you're negotiating. When you do that in form, it's the same thing. You bring people in a black place and you just say, so what do we do? And there's this awkward moment where people just, well, we could do anything. So what do we do?
I think we should go back and reference the recording, because what was on the recording I thought was really cool. In Montreal, we had explored a range of material, some of which we didn't use, but it was just almost personal exposition, where we're just getting to know each other as a quartet.
You name them according to what we named them.
Yeah, there's accordion concat resynthesis, there's alternate sources, so that was the laptop speakers, dislocated groove, Mile West Coast plus drums.
I could write a keyword on each of them.
Maybe that can be a block of something and make
another block,
and so that can play
sections like we can play with.
This doesn't feel like a good idea.
Because it's not. The first step would probably be to remember what we had. Of him, you filming, me filming. Structuring time. We have material, we need to structure it. Let's try that. Let's film it. Let's see how it sounds, and then we can act on this. Because
we're gonna like do a little recipe test.
I don't know. Do you want to do a grand scheme first?
Oh, I thought that's what we were doing.
You saw on the floor all these panes and paper, which are that they were existing in themselves. They were not organized, and then we started to compose. A single bouche cassette. We've tried a lot of cool transitions. This is going to be further down the tune.
So one of the features that we could use is this rain of clicks from the accordion.
Well, that could be like...
It's a good trigger.
So, this is exactly what I did.
Yeah.
And then, this is about halfway through. That adds a certain amount of busyness, and then... So it's the same rhythm, but follow with a cloud of stuff. This parameter can just kind of... We can take a material, and if I, for example, if I connect it to all of them, like this sounds kind of like what you had. This is all of them doing the same thing, just with different probability.
The visualization I had to flush, and it's part of the creative process. It's part of being an improviser as well. You've got to stay with the moment. So it was improvisation in the grand scale of the project, allowing people to breathe, myself included, and to make errors, myself included. So what do we do? What do we do now? We could also risk it. We could also do the show.
No, we can do the show twice. We do it now with the
full duration
margin of error.
Margin of error, full duration, yelling maybe sometimes above.
Yeah, what was like
Take a break, do another time.
Yeah.
and then take notes, and then rap.
It's not a total free music, but you have a lot of this kind of aesthetic, and sometimes you have to reach that goal, or sometimes I have to have this kind of sound to have this kind of role in the. So it depends of every scene. If you don't already have a role, you have to think about your role in improvisation. So it's only a composition process.
Because you've worked quite a lot in structuring composition and improvisation within composition, within ensemble. How is this project in line with this, and how is it different with your other approaches, and how was that negotiated with the other 3 improvisers, composers that were in the ensemble?
If we're gonna do this, I think the next section shouldn't be the wonky group. Because it doesn't mean anything. It's just like, oh, like the stop is
Right.
just
It's a break,
inconsequential.
like 90% of funk.
Because then we wouldn't hear the accordions do their breathing stop.
But they've done it.
I didn't hear it.
Yeah.
For me, what was interesting about that was that it was sonically going to phase, we stop, and then something else starts in time with that.
That's what you like.
Yes.
Yes, that's what. That's
Like,
what I like in this was the very opposite of that.
yeah. If aside from that, like the out of phase to in phase
We
for
can stop
me,
talking about it. We don't agree. We won't. We can talk about it for ages. You like the stuff. I like the continuity.
in a lot of the stuff that I do on my own or outside of this context, I'm going in an airplane by myself, and I'm jumping out without a parachute, and I'm okay with that. I may die or I may not die. It may be amazing, it may be shitty, but it's kind of only me at risk, and I'm willing to kind of do that. It's a kind of risk that is, it's not even a risk, it's a feature of that kind of way of working that appeals to me.
We know you like one, we know I like the other one. I'm not saying I hate yours, and you probably will say just to be irritating that you hate mine. I don't care at this stage. Let's see in the gig.
When there's 4 people, it's kind of harder to take that risk on behalf of someone else. So there's that kind of fundamentally different thing. So for me, I feel much more comfortable to leave gigantic blocks of completely unprescribed anything.
Let's say these 2 people process these 2 other people, and we improvise. And we see where that goes, and we have a target where it goes, but let's just try it and get to it and put the lights, put the stuff we feel is good there, and then
Or
see where
yeah,
it
it could
goes.
just be like a block of reactivity with no material defined.
Yes, something like this, but we have a visual defined, for instance.
Yeah, like reactivity. So if there's any rooting stuff or if there's any visual stuff, but then no material definition.
Again, I wouldn't get going the length. So we see tweaking a movement too much and not having a full tune at the end of the week is not what we should do.
Because how different the nature of each one of our approaches, our performance practice, our technical practice, and our aesthetic practice intersects, what I would consider a feature, it can manifest as a risk and is compounded by 4 people. So is very dangerous. Like the likelihood of something amazing happening with all those variables is smaller. The likelihood of something amazing happening is the same. The likelihood of something shitty happening is significantly more. I would be dubious of having each section be a survey of shit we can do with visuals.
I don't want that to happen. Ben, je sais pas si j'ai beaucoup de mélange. Do you understand what he's saying?
No.
You think it highlights the gimmicky aspect to have a one-to-one relation. But that's why we need to try things, and then when we have a gig, we can prune, we can add, we can recycle. Yeah. That's why the timeline is so important to me. Otherwise, we can just make combinations forever.
the footprint of laptop speakers versus breathing is very big conceptually, you know? So I think the musical material that would need to carry it to be bigger, as big as, or bigger than that.
So this U3 acoustic trio. So you play the laptop speaker, you play the laptop speaker, and you get this acoustic bit. That's the idea carrying it. That's gelling it.
So at the end, we wanted to be able to go through X amount of music in a way that we were content with the structure and the flow of what was happening.
The project is nowhere near what I was thinking it would be in the rendering, yet it's exactly in everything I wish it would be.